laptop to respond. I think it's coming. I can use this hard copy.
Sarge.
Yeah,
Can you
I
get
have-
this to Alan, please? Thank you.
I think it's here. Thank you. I'd like to call the Trotwood-Madison Board of Education meeting, May 4th, to order. Ms. Allen, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Ms. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Cherry,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
and Mrs. Judah Freeman.
Yes. Now, if we would stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. And now we will have the mission statement read by High School JROTC Cadet Commander Lieutenant Colonel Amani Fuller.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Fuller, and to the left of me, this is Cadet Captain Fall. I will be reading the mission statement. The mission of Trotwood-Madison City Schools is to graduate all students prepared to excel in a global society with commitment to lifelong learning by guaranteeing a challenging curriculum facilitated by innovative and dedicated staff, community participation in state-of-the-art resources, and stimulating atmosphere.
And now I'd like a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll move to adopt the agenda.
I'll second.
It's been properly moved in second. Are there any changes?
Yes. I have two changes. The first change, I would like to add an expulsion appeal that will happen after 2A. So it will be 2B, and the 5-year forecast will be 2C.
Okay.
And I have one more.
So the expulsion hearing will be, and that will be done in executive session?
Yes, we will move into executive session and then come back out.
Okay. So, 2A, we will add an executive session for the purpose of expulsion appeal hearing.
Then the second change, I would like to remove sections C1 and C2 of the personnel agenda. I will have them back to be voted on at our May 18th meeting.
So that would be item 5C1 and C2.
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other changes?
Not that I have.
Okay. If not, Ms. Allen, would you call the roll with the?
I will. Ms. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Cherry,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
and Mrs. Jeter Freeman.
Yes. The motion passes, and now we will enter into our presentations. And the first one is the Trotwood-Madison High School JROTC presents Drones and Robotics, led by Ms. Mackenzie Reese.
Would it be helpful if we move, or are we okay here? Okay.
You have
Hello.
enough space there, or do we need to move anything? Fine, okay.
It's not connected. Hello, I am our robotics team, RoboRams team leader, Mackenzie Reese. Beside me, I have one of my teammates and my navigator, Jerome Lee. Sadly, two of our teammates could not make it today, Carly Smith and Jasmine Kennel. Today I'm going to talk about our land robots and our aerial drones. We work with our aerial drones for competitions right now because we have more practice in our aerial drones than we do in our land robots, but we are working on that. We have been to 3 competitions so far, and hopefully next year we'll be able to get to some with our land robots. Right here we have our past robot. We did not build this one. This is from years ago, but this is just a before. And then here are some robots that we have made. They're both for the same competition, just different varieties. This is the more preferred version. No, that one's the more preferred version. That's just what they prefer for the competition because it's easier to pick up the discs. But you have to make modifications to where the robot will be able to shoot the disc into the basket. This one it's also easy to pick up the disc, but you'll probably have to make even more modifications to shoot the disc into the basket. This is the disc, so about good width, good height, easy pickup, just hard to shoot. So these ones we've just been working on in class. That one we worked on practice. This one we've been working on in class. Our aerial drones, we have gone to 3 competitions. Our first one was in West Virginia. We placed second to last, but it was our first competition, and we learned a lot of things while we was there. We went up against a whole lot of people who've gone to a lot of championships, so we was just there to learn things and have fun. Our second competition we went to in Xenia, where we placed second. That got us into the regionals, which we'll be going to next Friday in Michigan for 2 days. Our third competition was in Kentucky, where we placed third as a team, and I placed third in a solo. But it didn't mean anything. We were just there to be there. So the competition is basically an obstacle course where you have to pull balls out of like their home base kind of and put them into a goal to earn points, and then you will have to go through a blind landing to get to a goal to earn even more points, which will basically end the game. We'll have our navigators on the side telling us where we're going. The game is consisted of 2 teams on each side, basically. Next part of our conversation is going to be me showing you the drone, but have technical difficulties, which I'm guessing you need me to handle.
Really?
Yes.
We take spares with us just for this reason. We didn't bring a spare, we're flying.
Need more
But
drone.
the Army did the initial
Are you hitting the pair
So-
button on both of them? Are you hitting the pair button on both of them?
Can we ask questions now, or you prefer us to wait until the end? So we currently only have the 2 updated drones, right? And we're really not using the original one.
Oh, the lander one?
Right.
Yes, no, we just brought the, here's one out here while she plays with them. So we just brought the original Zulu,
To
you may
see.
remember a couple of years ago. when we
Right.
First started. This is what we started with versus this is how far we've come.
Okay.
We went from 2 motors to now we have 4, 6, and 8 motors. We have different speeds in the motors now, so we've learned about torque and ratios, which before we were just building. Now we're actually understanding it and modifying. So that's a great thing. We're doing that in class, and so they're in the class as well as part of the robotics club.
Right.
That's really what's helping out a lot. So we're learning a lot. And then with the drones, you heard this is our first year doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest, I never thought we'd make it.
I saw this. Yeah.
So we're really excited about how far they've come with it.
Yeah.
Again, because the other drone we actually built, so first semester we actually built our own drone. And now we're building, we're learning pitch and yaw, and so I'm actually going to a STEM camp this summer. So I'm an Army guy.
Right.
So we're gonna learn this, we're gonna bring this back to them. As you heard, we're gonna start, competitions actually start in September.
Okay.
And so we're gonna start in August, getting used to flying again, because you know, summer, they're probably gonna fly, like they're supposed to. And fly, and then, okay.
Okay.
I did want to say
I stalled
that,
long enough.
you were in the paper for making second. We were able to
Yeah,
get
I
this
saw
in
that.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, what did you hit? I don't even know. You was just hitting buttons, weren't you?
Not me.
Nope.
And so in the competition, they end up pairing with another team, and so strategy, they have to develop strategy. So we may think we wanna do it one way, but you watch other teams, and, hey, they're really good. You talk, okay, I'm really good, like, she's very good on offense. She can move the ball and score. Hey, you good on defense? Yes, great. You play defense, I'll play offense. So they stop the other team from scoring while she goes and scores. So we learned all that the first competition, went to the second one, they were ready to go, that's why they did so well.
Oh, very
The
good.
third one, in Kentucky, they were actually teaching the other teams
Oh, wow.
how to do this.
Wow.
And so the challenge is, even though she was third,
Uh-huh.
when it wasn't regulation competition, the teams that were first and second were the teams that actually set the course up. And I talked to their coach, they started setting out in September, they
Wow.
couldn't do the official course, so they set it up.
I was waiting on you to finish talking. We all know it. So with this drone, I can go forward, backward, side, side, and I can go clockwise and counterclockwise. This drone, however, different from the Mambo, you cannot do a flip, but you can do this. And you can change your speeds. So it can go from it can go from this to this to this.
Is there a camera in this one?
When they're coding, yeah, I believe so, or at least a sensor to censor like colors so you know
Okay.
where to land, but it's not on like regular flying, it's on a code. So yep, we learned all types of stuff while we was there. I also learned how to like start the pillars up just on the floor without actually taking off. So I could just sit there like that and wait for the referee to go, and then boom, I'm already up. I also learned this while we was at competition, which Colonel does not like me doing.
Don't drop it.
He don't like it. From
The 10-foot height, she doesn't, I'm hurt.
that wasn't me. That was Carly during a code. I just want to point that out. I never dropped from 10 feet.
So just like the land robots, they actually have coded so it can fly by itself. Those actually fly by itself and picks up. You remember the other business?
Yeah, it's right here.
No, it picks, so the coder has to pick those yellow discs up by itself. Nobody, they just hit go, they sit down, and it drives for a minute by itself.
Nice.
So the drone, the coder who's not here, she has to code it to go through the entire obstacle course in 1 minute. And then land by itself on a block that's 12 foot by 12 foot.
Very nice.
12 inches by 12 inches, excuse me.
So I heard you mention you have a navigator, you have a coder. So what are the different team players?
All right, so we have the pilot, which is Mackenzie Reed, so that's her, as you see.
Uh-huh.
She flies, that's all she cares about. Scoring.
Okay.
She can, whatever her role is when her and the other team talk.
Okay.
She has her partner, the co-pilot, so in the competition, he's standing right next to her. He's watching what the other teams are doing, trying to help score. Telling her, because she gets, what's all called a squirrel. She gets very tunnel vision on one thing, and then now she sees something else. So it's his job to get her back on track. He also has to look at the clock, because at one, you gotta give her a 1 minute warning, and more importantly, 45 seconds. Because at 45 seconds, is the first time you go through the ring. There's a ring 8 foot, and then 6 foot, and then the blind landing that she can't see at all.
Wow.
And then you have the third person on the other side of the ring, it's a 24 foot by 24 foot arena. They have a big curtain, so she can't see where she's landing. So that third person, the other navigator slash co-pilot, is sitting there, hand and arm signal, go this way, closer, closer, closer.
Oh.
And she can't see it, so he has to relay all that to her. So they have to work on their communication skills, their design skills, engineering. And they don't modify these, but they can see the modifications on the robots. So, yeah, they're getting all. And the coding, they have to, put in a code, computer coding. The wind effect is there. If somebody opens the door, the code can be working perfectly, it'll shift like just a few inches, it'll hit the ring, it'll hit the side of it now.
The drone don't like
Those
listening.
are the things they have to deal with.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
That drone
Board
don't like
questions?
listening.
Comments?
how do you secure your funding for the children to participate?
Well, this year, so these, the Army actually got a grant for us to pay for their team registration, which was $150, just to be a team. And then they got the grant, which bought one drone and paid the arena, which the arena cost about $1,100. That's done now because again, because it has a chip, so once they learn that, all funding stops. So for this year, we're using ROTC funds. I told them this afternoon.
We're gonna be doing
This is
concessions.
costing about $1,500. It was $300 just to register for the competition. It's $1,200 for hotel fees, for the rooms, and then it's $580 for the shirts. My fraternity has helped, as you can see on the sleeve, Omega STEM, so my fraternity has got it into that, so they have helped with some of the funding, so the second drone and things that you see there they're helping with, that help also with cost.
Have-
And then, I'm begging, please, if there's any funding,
Please.
they're gonna do like ROTC does, raise funds, but this year our team was 6 people, we started with 6, we had 4 that were dedicated, that came to all of our practices. There's 4 that I'm gonna take with us to the competition. We hope to grow it, like we were talking about before. Last year, when we briefed it, the board gave us funds, that's all we gave us, extra robots.
That's what I was going to say,
Yeah,
yes.
so the board gave us, I think it was, enough to buy a robot. Each one of those land robots is $1,500. And we went with the basic competition.
awesome. I had the privilege of going to DC this past weekend to for leisure, and I went to lunch with some cybersecurity technicians, and they talked about robots. So I would love to connect with you, and I know there's some grants, and I'm willing to contribute $200 to that to help out with that trip. And hey, I'm more than asking our board members to jump on the bandwagon for that. I think this is awesome. I think this is innovating. This is where our future is leading to, definitely when it comes to drones. And I'm just super excited about this. And thank you for this awesome presentation.
If I can add one little thing.
Yes.
I don't want to get you finished, but when we were in West Virginia, nobody looked like us.
Mm-hmm.
When we were in Kentucky, nobody looked like us. In fact, in West Virginia, the judge came up and said, I've been judging this for 3 years. It's the first black.
The lady did that in Kentucky too. Not Kentucky, Xenia. A lady came up to us. She was like, "I'm so glad y'all are here to represent us."
That's great. Right.
Madam Madam Chair, this is why I think it's important that as we go into 23-24, that we support endeavors like this and make sure that these young people make it to that competition in September. And like I said, connect with me and we will see what else we can do to help out with that.
Okay, any other comments?
Thank you.
President Jeter Freeman, I just want to say thank you. Not only have you been committed, Dr. Graves, to the ROTC, but you have been committed to this endeavor as well. And I've noticed that everything you put your hands on turns to gold. All right, and for that we are grateful. So, and the commitment, I know that it's a time commitment, huge time commitment. And, you know, I don't know if your family sees you much, but we appreciate you. Thank you.
Any other board comments?
Yes, I seen something I thought was super dope. In a team or when you're working in a grouping, sometimes things don't go right? Happens to me all the time. I seen something so cool. Y'all didn't sweat under pressure. Y'all didn't start blaming each other. Y'all didn't start fighting amongst each other in front of being the only people that look like you guys, which they love to see us do sometimes, off the record. But what I would like to say is that was so cool to see that. And then you had the head guy in charge there kind of styling us out till things got going. I really appreciated the presentation, but I love seeing that in difficulties, y'all worked as a team when y'all represent Trotwood-Madison. I thought that was a great job. So thank you, guys.
Great job.
Madam Chair, can we take a picture with them? And
Oh, sure. I have another question. So what grades? If you would introduce yourself and say what grade you're.
Hi, I'm Mackenzie Reese. I'm in 9th grade.
Ninth? Okay. He said
I'm Jerome Lee, and I'm in the 9th grade.
9th grade, okay.
And our two teammates that are not here, Carly Smith in 9th grade and Jasmine Kendall in the 10th grade.
Okay. Because, you know, and we didn't get the grades of the other two.
I'm 11th grade.
Okay.
Oh, I'm in 11th grade.
This would be nice if you, and I don't know if you have, so I won't assume that you haven't, to do this presentation to our middle school students. Yeah, to get them excited about, yeah. I mean, I join.
President Jeter Freeman, I know you were pretty big in SALT and showcasing our student talent at some of our OSBA conferences, NSB conferences, and the like, because this is awesome. And the fact that you don't see people of color at these particular competitions, I think that it would motivate other districts to do the same. I mean, we could be the pilot and the prototype for robotics, coding, and the like.
Right,
So,
right.
you know, maybe that's something the board can do as a whole, you know, along the lines of
Right.
nominating our students for these type of exhibitions.
Right, so when OSBA send us out the requests for
Yes.
student, if you all will be, and that's normally the
It's,
first or second, week of November. Yes,
I know, right, baby face.
well, you know, coding has been, on my wish list for a very long time, so I'm pretty excited. So thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Very good. And if there are summer programs that we can blend in, I'm sure you'll let superintendent know.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
See you later.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Can you take a picture with him?
Oh, yes, we can take a picture.
Dr. Graves, can we take a picture with you guys?
You go, Sarge, you get in there too.
And if our parent isn't here, we'll adjust to accommodate her. We'll keep moving and, did you hear me?
Cosby went to see if she's out there.
Okay.
Not there. She's not there. Said she went.
So we'll adjust the agenda when the parent shows up to,
Okay.
and we'll just move along with
You want
the.
me to start?
Yes,
And then I
please.
can stop it when she comes.
What, please?
Would you like me to go next?
Yes.
Okay, and then I can stop when she comes, and then I can pick up her.
Or yeah. I spoke to her and she understands, so I think she'll sit through and then at the end of your presentation, if she's here, we'll go then.
And in your folder, in the front of your folder on the left side, you'll see the PowerPoint.
and notes, and on the right side is the 5-year forecast. So I am presenting today for the May 5-year forecast, and it's for actual fiscal years June 30th, FY20, FY21, FY22, and then the estimated or forecasted years 23 through 27. So ORC is Ohio Revised Code, and OAC is Ohio Administrative Contract, I think. So both of those codes require all school districts in the state of Ohio to present a November 5-year forecast and a May 5-year forecast. This 5-year forecast includes general funds. It can include other funds, but with ours, it's just the general fund. We don't have Fund 016. We do have 002, but it's not included in general fund, so we don't include it in our 5-year forecast. The purposes and objectives of the forecast obviously is to engage the Board of Education and our community. So in the La La Land out there, I've attached the 5-year forecast and the notes on board docs for our community to peruse as well. And so this gives us an opportunity to talk about any financial issues and about long-range planning. This also serves as the certificate for me to pay any kind of bill, and that's called a 412 certificate. Every time that I send our appropriations to the county, I have to attach a 412, and what that means is that we have money to pay for the expenses or the appropriations that I submitted. It also gives the Ohio Department of Education an opportunity to look at all the school districts in the state of Ohio for potential financial problems. And so there's two areas, academic watch and academic emergency, when you start having negative cash balances in your out years. So before we get to the numbers, just to paint kind of a picture, a 5-year forecast, and I want for our brand new board member, these 5-year forecasts is just an estimate. I wish I could tell you I know everything, every line item, and I knew exactly what we're going to spend, how much money we're going to get. It's just an estimate. It gives us a big picture, a painting just so that we can look at the 5-year forecast. It's also a key management tool. We look at the 5-year forecast to see about our staffing, to see where we're spending money. Every month, we have a monthly financial report. We actually run the numbers against our 5-year forecast to see how we're doing for that forecast. At any time, we can refile the 5-year. So say something happens for the 5-year forecast and it really is going in a different direction, I can file that 5-year forecast at any time after the November and the May forecast. And then it says this helps the district management to be proactive in meeting those challenges. So key line items, the forecast is divided into 2 sections, revenue and expenditures, and at each monthly meeting we talk about our revenue and expenditures. The revenue is made up of our local and state funding, and I'll talk about that in the future, and then our expenditures include our salary and benefits, the purchase services, supplies and materials, capital outlay, and other. Some of our challenges to our operating revenue are several things. Right now, in the House and the Senate in Columbus, they are going back and forth talking about House Bill 33, which is the budget for FY24 and 25. Currently, we're under House Bill 110, which runs through FY23. And so right now, it's always a fuzzy period because we don't know exactly how that funding is going to shake out. We only know that through FY23. Before they've eliminated the open enrollment revenues and we implemented paying the district directly where our students are educated. So anything that was flowing through our district, the community schools, no longer flows through our district. So we'll talk about this when we talk about the 5-year forecast. The open enrollment will lower your 1.06 line, which is all other revenues, and it may increase the state foundation and obviously lowers the purchase services line. That purchase services line, we used to transfer $4 million for community schools out from Trotwood-Madison, but that money does not flow through our district any longer. So the school funding plan, again, has been frozen through FY23, and as I said earlier, the House and Senate are still going back, or they have not completely finished reviewing all of the components of the budget. What we have done as far as revenue, we have estimated the growth to be about less than 1% annually. And then our enrollment growth would not necessarily translate into revenue. We have lost some students, and it's about 100 students this past couple years, and we really need to look at that reduction. One thing that is on the very positive side, and you'll see that in your 5-year forecast, is our interest income. I went back to look at some history. Back in FY20, our interest income was $55,170 through this time period. Right now, it's $601,000 that we're estimating. And so that is a huge increase because of the interest income that we're receiving from our investments that we have. Other sources of revenue that I wanted to talk about is, one is the Student Wellness and Success Funds, SWSF. They have included that in our general fund. And so that total, we'll get a total of $620,107 this year. That money has been used to pay for our Samaritan Behavioral Health contract. We have sensory supplies, resources, and furniture. And then we've also paid, it helped pay for professional development on conscious discipline. The second piece of other sources, major piece, is ESSER 2 and ESSER 3. We have received $22.9 million just in those two funds. And those funds have allowed the district to add staff, about 60 additional staff members. We have been able to secure curriculum materials, resources, pay for professional development, and then, of course, the PPE, all the personal protective equipment that we bought over the years. I've said this many times, and I have to reiterate this, that this money, ESSER 2, will run out at the end of this year, September 2023. So by June 30th, we should have spent all of our money, and then that runoff before September 30th, we will deal with at that time. ESSER 3 is September 30th, 2024. And so we're now in a position, or getting in the position, to understand that 2024 money, or that ESSER 3 money, will run out next year. So we're closing in on the end of ESSER funding. So I just have to repeat that. So our expenditure forecast, facts, and assumptions. Our salary and benefits, we projected that to grow just very moderately throughout the forecast, and you'll see that when we look at it. Materials and supplies, we updated that to reflect our actual expenditures to date. And then capital outlay will increase to allow the district to buy buses each year. Yesterday, we had a really good 5 meetings, budget meetings with our principals, ELC, high school, Madison Park, middle school,
and Westbrook Village. All of the principals, we went through a process to talk about their budgets, and general fund budgets, not our grant budgets, just the general fund budgets. And then we will start with the departments next week, trying to finalize their budgets. All of this then will be rolled up into the 5-year forecast. And so the numbers that you see on the 5-year forecast, all the budgets that we're talking about have to coincide and mesh right into the 5-year forecast.
So if I may ask.
Sure.
So you've given them what their target number is,
Yes.
and they're backing into
Yes.
whatever that number
And so,
is.
yes, we have done that. But what we did is we looked at every line to see what they've spent, what they haven't spent, and made sure that we weren't overspending. Now, once I do this next exercise, then I might have to come back and say, we have to reduce that line, we have to reduce this a little bit more to fit into the 5-year forecast.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're doing their budgets through 25 as well?
No, we're doing just FY '24. So we
Okay.
do 1 year at a time.
Okay.
Yeah, 1 year at a time. Some of the initiatives and goals that they might identify, we have a line item to include FY '25 as well, if it's something extensive. And so that is in the document. I'm not sure if Ms. Moore, and she's not here, and Mrs. Jeter Freeman, you remember that when we were going through that academic distress commission process, they suggested that our budgeting process was not robust enough. And so we went out and secured a system where the process could be that we would identify budgets, and they would identify what their highlights are, they would identify any potential staffing, and the most important piece would be the measurement piece. You guys have talked about the evaluation piece, and that is part of the budgets as well.
Okay.
And
when
so,
you say-
and what I said to Dr. Cosby,
Yeah.
we haven't done a good job. We all understand, we haven't done a good job of going back to evaluate how well these programs are, and we have to do that.
Yeah.
And we talked about that in our meetings yesterday.
Okay, and so I think what we need as a board and as a district is that evaluation piece, but we need a timeline with it, right? So what programs have we put in place? So to bring those back to the board, as you're saying that the principals, so the buildings, and for those programs that we put in place, to bring those back to say, these, we had this many students, we spent this much money. We had this many students, this number of students involved, this number of parents, and I know we have some where we incentivize parents to participate. So those are the kinds of things we have to really track to say, okay, did we get as you just said, that you're going to do, but we need that timeline on it. So when do you have a timeline on it? I guess that would be the question.
So I'm thinking, and Dr. Cosby can answer this, but I'm thinking the budgets are from July 1 through June 30th of 2024. I'm thinking around May-ish timeframe, April-May timeframe, that we would come back, have the same type of meetings, and go over the measurement criteria and see the evaluation and kind of see where we were in terms of that.
But you're saying April, May of next year,
Yes,
right? So
yes.
we need to do that evaluation because we've not done one. So let's say June, July, would
And
be
you
a
mean for
time.
FY '23?
Right, right.
Yes. Yeah.
What we
Okay.
did for 22, 23.
Okay.
And what we've completed. So that allows all the programs to be wrapped up, and then for us to do, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Board comments.
So,
And I know you're in
I'm-
finance, so I don't know.
Right, so, just to really piggyback off of what President Jeter Freeman said, all the programs that were implemented, we would like to know how it was effective, the number of say August, if that's enough time, because that means the program will have been finished with the program by that time, and you can get us more accurate numbers.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about what programs you would like for us to
Okay.
look at. As you know, some things like letters cost us money through ESSER, but your return on that will change over time. The more, it's used, the more our kids start to learn how to read using that, science of reading and all. We will hopefully start to see some growth, but more growth as time goes on. But we can tell you where we are now, how many teachers participated, how many students are benefiting from that. Are we seeing growth, and some of those types of things. But I just wanted to make sure if it's something that involves, like the student's ability to read at a certain point, we can tell you where we are. And then that may help us determine where we can go. But on that first year, teachers are learning how to implement, all of this takes some time, so.
Ms. Moore, we were talking about the evaluation of programs, and Ms. Allen said that was one of the things she knew that we needed to do. So that's what the discussion was around, coming up with a timeline on the evaluation of the program. We know we need to do it. We're finishing up this year, so, and we can discuss further at the retreat.
Yes.
Thank you.
So continuing the expenditure forecast, one of the expenditure lines is other revenue, and that includes your ESC expenditures, which we're going to talk about this evening. This year in FY 24, we have anticipated $2.3 million of expenses from ESC. It has risen a little bit, just slightly, not as much as we thought, but obviously all of the costs have risen for everything, and so that wasn't a surprise to us. So I just put together a couple of spreadsheets to just show you the differences from revenue and expenditures. So the property taxes from November to May, state foundation from November to May, homestead rollback, which is, and I brought this for Mr. Anderson, rollback, House Bill 204, enacted in 1979, the state increased the rollback to 12.5% for owner-occupied homesteads only. In addition, senior adults aged 65 and older living in owner-occupied homes get an additional tax credit. And so that is, when I talk about homestead and slash rollback, that's the money that we receive. Other revenue includes the interest that I talked about, the $601,000 increase. We get Medicaid reimbursement. We do a really good job of pulling that all together. And we, this past year, got about $240,000, and the tuition reimbursement from other school districts is about $100,000. So that total difference from November to May is an increase of $882,000.
To make sure I understand, the Medicaid reimbursement,
Yeah.
would that be for some of the services we
Absolutely.
provide?
Absolutely.
But it would not, or would it be Five Rivers?
It would not be Five Rivers. No,
Okay.
it would not be Five Rivers.
So it would be.
So they ask us about how many occupational therapists we have, how many physical therapists we have, what contract we have for those kind of services, and then we get that reimbursed back. So Westward Company helps us to put all of that information together, and then they submit the paperwork to the federal government, and we get that reimbursement back.
But it does not count for those services ESC provides us for that, right?
That's a good question. I could double check that.
Okay.
Yeah, I could double check
Yeah,
that.
because I know we get those services as well we get them from different sources.
Right.
So which
yeah.
ones?
We could,
Okay.
I'll write that. I will write that down.
I wouldn't see that reimbursement.
I will get that information for you. I could tell you exactly what that reimbursement is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
you had a question
No, I was asking where we contracted with them.
with the ESC?
Yes.
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 Yeah, and
I
that,
would
you're gonna see that today, Mr. Anderson.
Yeah.
You're gonna see the contract today,
Okay,
okay? And the services that you'll see that contract today,
all right, awesome.
okay? Expenditures, I did the same thing, and I talked about earlier what those expenses, salaries, benefits, purchase service, supplies and materials, and other objects. So we had salaries on the variance and the forecast, about $200,000, retirement, very negligible. Supplies and materials, obviously went up considerably. In our finance committee, we talk about this because we see that it's like an outlier. And one of the reasons is because the supplies obviously have increased and the fuel cost has increased. And so that is one, not all, but one of the reasons why that line had to be increased for the May 5-year. I always say, I've been doing this for 12 years, this always intrigues me, this graph here, because at the top, it looks like an alligator. So that red line at the top is expenditures, the blue line is revenue, and the green line then is your cash balance. So as the alligator mouth opens, that means that your expenditures are increasing, your revenues are coming down, and because of that, that's deficit spending, and because of that, your cash balance then will start to decline. And so, when we talk about the 5-year, in FY27, we have $1.1 million designated for cash balance of 2027. That has changed from $39,000 for May, and I was excited about that we could identify some extra revenue to at least increase that somewhat. We still got a long way to go to increase that in 2027. This is another graph that I like. This is ending cash balance. We did pass a policy to enact a 60-day cash balance as a responsible target, and that was in April of 2016. And so what I want you to do, if you don't mind, can you pull out your 5-year forecast? And I just want to point you to a line and show you how we calculate the 60-day cash reserve balance. And so if you look on line 4.5, which is total expenditures, and if you look under FY 2023, it says $37,890,080. If you divide that by 365 days in the year, and you multiply that by 60, our 60-day cash reserve balance should be about $6.2 million. If you look at the graph, you can see that in FY 23, it is hovering about $6.2 million. I mean, at this point, $6.2 million, and we have more than the $6.2 million of the cash reserve. But as you go out to 2027, that continues to lower. So this is a graph that I report on every month to see where we are in terms of our 60-day cash reserve policy. And I only have a couple more slides. This slide just talks about your estimated general fund revenue sources. And you can see that the state foundation is the biggest pie, it's the red part. State foundation is about 73% of our total revenue. So that's why it's really important that we keep an eye on what's going on in Columbus. And so when we're asked to go and testify or go talk or listen to some of those webinars, it's important that we keep that in front of us. Obviously, you can see the real estate taxes and other state would be the homestead and rollback that I talked about. Other local is just things that we collect here, such as our rental fees. And then I did the same thing for the expenditure graph, and you can see that salaries and benefits constitute the majority of our expenditure pie chart. We have other at 7%, and that other is the awards and prizes, ESC auditor fees. I'm always thrown away when I see the auditor fees. they collect money to give us. When they give us money, we have to give money back for auditor fees, and those auditor fees obviously would help them pay their staff. So we have to pay to get money. And this is just a graph of the different expenditures. The red would be wages, benefits, materials, and capital outlay. So in summary, again, the state resources are 73.6%. We anticipate a positive cash balance through 2027. Again, we're not sure about what's going on in FY '24 through '27. We can't look at, obviously, any great increase in revenue. And then, of course, ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 are our most significant funding since we've seen for quite some time. So if you want to just quickly glance at our 5-year forecast. And I always, when we do this, my first eye goes down to the line cash balance June 30, 7.02. You'll see that's $1.2 million, and that did increase from the last time that we did this. And so each line, as I talked about, it's divided between revenues and expenditures. One line that I wanted to call your attention to was all other revenues we talked about. That's line 1.06 at the top. You see 22, we have $579,000. We increased that quite significantly, almost $1.2 million for 2023. And so that carries over through 2027, allowing us to have a cash balance of $1.1 million. And you can see if I go down to expenditures, your salaries are pretty consistent. In FY '25, I want to call your attention. You can see that jump from 21.9 to 24.1. We have allotted $1.8 million to bring back into the general fund to recapture some of those ESSER jobs, not all of them, but some. So that's why there's a significant increase from 24 to 25. And so that is, in a nutshell, our 5-year forecast. Obviously, this is just for information. You have a couple weeks. If you have questions, please reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to try to answer them. And then on the 20th, on the 18th, on the 18th, I will be asking you to approve that so that I can file that with the state. So thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No, I'd like to shout out our awesome treasury department. I went to I don't know the acronyms, OSBC conference 2 weeks ago, and some of the districts talked about their treasurer, good and bad, and all we could talk about was great things that's happened at Trotwood, definitely with the 5-year forecast, making sure that we're trying our best to dot every I and cross every T. So it's good that I believe, and I'm confident, that we can put our treasurer up against any other district right now to ensure that we're doing what's needed. And I will email you some of my questions.
Okay.
So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening.
Okay. So next up, we have our board report, and it's the approval of the policy updates from the winter. And this is the second reading. And do we have someone to cover those changes, Dr. Costa?
Yes. So if you'll remember, 2 weeks ago at our meeting, I gave you the overall overview of our policies. And I'm sure as you look through them, what you notice that some were offered for consideration. I think there were 5. That would have been the technical corrections. It would have been health services, animals on district policy, and one that also talked about policies in general, some technology ones. Those are ones that if you wanted to look over them as you did and decided that it's something you may want to individually vote on, then we could do that. All of the other policies, and again, we have been through them. I can do as much detail or as little as you feel you need, but the others are all, should be adopted. Neola feels that if we're gonna stay in touch with the law, to be consistent with current state law, they should be adopted. For our state performance ratings, they should be adopted. All the others should be adopted. So, whatever your pleasure is, I know that you have had a chance to look over them. Is this for action tonight? This is for action tonight, so if you would like for me to go through them in more detail, I can, or if you feel comfortable from what you read.
Was there a policy meeting to review these? So it's the policy committee?
Yeah.
Any comments?
We did have a policy meeting, to review these. I'm good with these as they are. I think, what's our guy's name? Norm?
Norm
Burkhart.
Burkhart.
Okay. Norm was pretty clear on, the items that we could consider, such as the pet and all of those things. But I think he gave pretty solid recommendations for the
I agree.
policies itself. And, Madam President, if anyone didn't get an opportunity to actually look at them and maybe would like to reconsider, we can always do that as well.
Yeah,
But I'm
we could-
pretty clear on what's been presented.
When I read through them as well and met with Norm Burkhart, I did agree Neola is our company that, looks at the law, looks at, what policies other districts are using. And if we adopt their policies as presented, then when we come into something that goes against the policy, they will support us.
Okay.
If we don't adopt them, then that's one thing that we lose, is their
Their
support.
support. Any other board comments on the policies? The one for the graduation requirements, it didn't really change, anything significant from what I saw.
Okay.
I think most of them was some fine tuning.
Right, yeah, graduation requirements. Again, the way he says it, they'll finally adjust to the 2023 and beyond. They were making changes along the way. And so now this is gonna stand for some years, we're hoping for quite a
Yeah.
while. And, these are things that we are working on, and how we do our competency and readiness requirements. All of those things are things that we have been looking at. Different ways for students who do not pass ELA and algebra tests, being able to get local seals. Again, these are things that we're already working with, and
Right.
I think what they're saying is we're gonna hold on that for a
Right,
while.
and that's the way I read it. Everything up to 23 during the pandemic, when they put flexibilities in, now they're gonna stay with those
Gonna
things,
stabilize.
which provide, more opportunities for our students to
Right,
graduate.
to be able to graduate, yes.
All right, if there are no others on the policies, treasurer's report.
Are you gonna?
We need a vote on.
Oh, we do need a vote
Yeah.
on that one, because it is the second reading. I'll take a motion to approve the winter policy updates.
I'll move to accept the approval of the policy updates for 1.2, winter 2023, the second reading.
It's been properly moved by Ms. Moore and second by Ms. Jerry. If you would call the roll.
Sure. Ms. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Cherry,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
and Mrs. Jeter Freeman.
Yes, and the policy updates are approved. And now we will move to the treasurer's report.
Okay, I had a couple things this evening. The approval for information, the approval of minutes for the April 4th, 2023 special meeting, April 5th, 2023 2023 special meeting, April 6th work session, and April 20th regular meeting. And that, again, that's just for information. And then just for information is the approval of the May 2023 5-year forecast that I just presented. And that's all I have this evening.
Okay. And now we'll move to the superintendent's report.
Okay, and some of mine are for vote tonight. I will let you know this first one is for action. It is the approval of the school resource officer's contract for the school year of 22-23. It is attached to our board docs. As you can see, this is the contract that we have used prior, and primarily what our contract states is that the police and the police department and the city will train, provide uniforms, initially pay for our school resource officers. And I say initially because we do reimburse. And so at the end of this contract, you will see the reimbursement schedule. And so we do our 3 payments. The last one was April 15th of $56,733. And so they do this so that our SROs get paid on the same way that all the other police officers do. But they provide the training, they provide all of those other things for our school resource officers. And then we have 2, as you know. And then we get the benefit of that, and we reimburse for their salaries. The training, all of those things are included. Actually, what we are reimbursing is just their salaries.
And then we have, any comments on that? Anyone?
No.
We have the
Yes.
middle school and the high school course guidebooks. And
That was for action. Do you want to vote on that now? or-
do you have someone, I looked through them, but we can vote on them, but we'll discuss them.
Which, I'm sorry, are we talking about the school resource
Oh,
officers?
you wanna, that's right,
School
we did
resource
need to vote
officers.
on them.
Yes,
I forgot.
I wasn't rushing you.
No, that's fine. So I will take a motion to approve the SRO officers for school year 22 through 23.
I'll move to approve the school resource officer's contract for school year 2022 through 2023.
It's been moved by Ms. Moore and seconded by Mr. Davis. Ms. Allen, would you call the roll?
Ms. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Cherry,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Jeter Freeman.
Yes, the motion for the school resource officers passed.
Madam President, point of information, moving forward, if possible, if we're making a motion, let's make sure that we say that we want to motion. Yeah, we can no longer say move. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
We can most
Point of-
certainly do that.
Robert's Rules of Order. So,
We will motion.
yes, motion, and
A
restate the motion.
or a move?
Yes,
Yes. We will.
thank you.
Not a problem. And now we'll move for a motion to approve the high school and middle school 2023 and 24 course guides.
I'll motion, and by the way, that was my course
Yeah.
in the board
Yes.
governance, and you can say move, okay, on motions, but I'll motion and move, okay? To approve the Trotwood-Madison Middle School and High School 2023-2024 course guides, and it's okay. I'll move.
And I'll take a second, please.
I second, but I do have questions. I second.
Any discussion?
Okay. It's been properly motioned and moved by Ms. Moore and Mr. Anderson. Are there any questions?
I do have some information I would like to share with
Very
you about the changes that have been made
Okay.
in these two documents.
Thank
And I
you.
did, type them up for you. I'll start with the middle school because that is the smallest of the two as far as the changes that were made.
Just a minute, they're kind of sticky.
I'm sorry, Dr. Patton, you said the middle school?
Yes, start with the middle school. One of each. And you do have the full document, on board docs. And when you look through that document, you'll see things highlighted in yellow. And the page numbers on here, I'm not sure it totally corresponds, because sometimes, when you use a different machine, like I think the first one is actually on page 5 instead of 6. But it says addition of grade point average provision for athletic participation. As you can see, according to OHSAA, all middle school students in grades 7 through 8 must be enrolled in and earn passing grades in a minimum of 4 courses during the immediately preceding grading period to have continuing eligibility. As such, it is the practice of Trotwood-Madison Middle School to enroll all students in at least 4 courses in order to maintain student eligibility requirements. Students should consult with their coaches, the athletic director, and their counselor before dropping a course to ensure that they are meeting the minimum requirements to maintain athletic eligibility. Okay, the second change is change of college preparation and testing from PSAT to pre-ACT, moving to ACT for the 23-24 school year. And that'll be the next highlighted action. And the reason that we're moving to ACT is because it's more of a state test, and most of our students do go to school in state. Our students are still going to take, and this is the same thing that'll happen at the high school, they still will have opportunity to take the SAT, and it'll occur during school, but we tend to do better on the ACT, and so that was why we're sort of moving towards that, but SAT will always be available for our students as well.
Okay, so for that one, we will just need to make sure that our counselors are informing students, especially as they're freshmen, and they might not know the difference between taking the SAT and the ACT. So we'll just really need to make sure, because when I was reading through, I know in a lot of parts we say that it's the ultimate responsibility of the students and the parents to come up with what their course schedules are. So my only concern and thought is if you don't have that engaged, and maybe you might not have someone to help you navigate through that, we need to make sure that we as a district keep the onus on our counselors in making sure that the students, and I was thinking the same thing even with the statement regarding the students' eligibility. Students should consult with their coaches and athletic director and their counselors. Now, I'm not sure if they're gonna, would the coaches really be looking to know what a student needs in terms of whether or not it's 4 or 3?
Our counselors meet individually with each student
Okay.
and tell them what they're supposed to take. I think when they use the term, it's ultimately up to a parent, if a parent wants to override.
Okay.
Because our counselors would say, you should be in, like honors math. And a parent might say, I don't want them in honors
Right.
math because I think they would be better doing something else, or they
Okay.
don't have time for that. So ultimately, our counselors won't argue with the parent, but they will try to encourage them to,
Okay.
to take their suggestions.
And I haven't had one at the high school for a very long time.
For a
so
while,
I'll
yeah.
defer
And
to
that is
those
the
of
way,
you
I
that
think,
do.
but that's why it's written that way.
Okay.
Yeah, so that parents know that ultimately, you know, it's
Right.
local control on education for the most part, and they can have the final say, but our counselors do tell them where their aptitudes say they should be, where their prior scores say they should be, and, you know, they pretty much can tell them what things they should be taking,
And I-
but they can't force them to.
And you answered when you said that the counselors meet with each
They
student.
do
So that-
individually.
Yeah,
Mhm.
thank you.
Then finally, they have an addition of an advanced art course. This was approved during the 23-24 new course process. And, let's see, it says it's on page 15, which means it's probably a little bit before that. Advanced art. Prerequisites, none. Advanced art builds on skills learned in art. Students will be exposed to additional medium of art, including painting, drawing, and printmaking. Students will execute various projects with advanced levels of sophistication and will engage in more personalized planning in their project's outcomes. So that'll be the new art class at the middle school. Should we vote on these individually?
No, they're together.
Okay. So now we can move to the high school.
Oh, just was Spanish one a new one? It was highlighted, I didn't know.
Let me go back up to that. I
'Cause we-
I believe we've had Spanish one. We've had Spanish one.
Oh, okay, it was highlighted and I didn't know why.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
I don't either. My guess is they were probably looking at something and highlighted it and
Okay,
didn't go back to take it off.
thank you.
Mhm. Okay, Trotwood-Madison High School course guide. We have, a few more changes, so I'll just sort of go through them, and if you have questions, you know, please feel free to ask me. Again, the next one, it says addition of, I'll give you this one. Addition of grade point average provision for athletic participation. And again, this talks about how many classes the students need to, take. And that's actually on page 8. I'll just read this one because, a lot of times, I know parents are probably interested in this one. According to the bylaws of the Ohio High School Athletic Association, all high school students must earn passing grades in a minimum of 5 one-credit courses or the equivalent during the immediately preceding grading period to have continuing eligibility. As such, it is the practice of Trotwood-Madison High School to enroll all students in a minimum of 5 one-credit bearing courses or the equivalent in order to maintain eligibility requirements. Regardless of when students' athletic seasons begin, students should consult with their coaches, the athletic director, and their counselor before dropping a course to ensure that they are meeting the minimum requirements to maintain athletic eligibility. And I think that is one of the things that can be a problem, is a student will want to drop a class, and that's where the counselor would come in, you know, telling them, if you drop that class, you're going to lose your athletic eligibility. The next change of college preparation and testing, again, from PSAT to pre-ACT and then SAT to ACT for the 23-24 school year. That is just as I was talking about before, the reason for that change, but we will still be offering SAT. We also have the addition of AP Pre-Calculus, a new AP course for the 23-24 school year, pages 22 and 45. Now, let me explain the addition of AP courses, and actually the addition of any new course. It could be the art course at the middle school, it could be the AP courses at the high school. If we do not get enough students to sign up, then we will not run a course. If we have 3 students, 5, 8, there is a number that we would need before we would run the course. And of course, we would also have to have a teacher who could teach the course. Why we put them in here is because we can provide those opportunities for our students. And so we want them to know, because we may be surprised if someone knows that we have the teacher, we are able to teach a pre-calculus course, and so that's an opportunity. I also want to say about AP courses, we really want to, and and we're looking into doing it, increase the number of AP courses that we offer, because kids get an idea of the rigor associated with going to college. What typically happens in school districts, but people are changing it to make sure we're more equitable for all students. Typically what happens with AP courses is that we think only a certain type of child can take the course, and so kids don't sign up and they don't get this opportunity. And teachers feel a pressure that they have to pass the test, which is with a 3, 4, or 5 to say you passed. But as a district, we can make the decision to allow our children to have that opportunity whether or not they pass. You know, it does not hurt them not to pass, they just don't get the credit. They still get the experience. So we're gonna have that discussion, you know, about, are we wanting to do that? But I think it is a good opportunity. Anyway, so next would be the addition of a AP African American History course. The addition of agricultural science capstone approved as a part of a new course process. It will allow for work-based learning opportunities for our students.
Is there a reason we picked agricultural environment and environment? I was trying to figure in my head, what does that look like?
Well, you remember we have our students at the high school who really have taken on this whole idea of agriculture, of being a part of 4-H club, and they are really loving it, and it's sort of starting, you know, in the middle, and at the elementary level with our hydroponics, that's really taken off. It is. And yeah, it's taken off, and I believe we're also moving some of that into the middle school, so, you know. It's a surprising thing, but it is something that our students are interested in, and there is opportunity for jobs and careers in this field. And as we know with the hydroponics, farming isn't what it used to be.
Right.
Yeah. And I think you can, you know, make a good lifestyle out of that. Next is the change of office management from a half credit to a full credit, and that's an EMIS reporting change. Next, we have addition of information tech courses for a new CTE 26 Information Technology Pathway. In addition of our EMT courses, which is part of our partnership with Trotwood Fire and Sinclair. And I know we've talked about this before. It's really a good go there. Addition of manufacturing course added late 22-23. Added the course description to the 23-24 course guide on page 29. Yes.
All these pages are
off a little. That's what I'm saying.
A
You really
lot,
gotta
a lot.
read. I'm just sort of saying it so you'll know to get beyond that.
Well,
because,
so when you say 29, is
like 30 something, is it? Okay, I'll just say the next highlighted.
but it's all
item.
highlighted, 'cause I
The
was trying to
next
follow.
highlighted
Okay.
item, yes. Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. Change of personal finance course to financial literacy in keeping with state requirement naming. Then we have the addition of an AP Computer Science Principles. We received a grant from the College Board to implement this course.
So the grant will pay for the teacher?
Typically a grant for a class would be providing money for a teacher.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, and then addition of leadership certification. It was added in late 22-23, pilot of an industry recognized credential, and they came in and spoke to us. Leadership excellence, the Lean Six Sigma yellow and green belt, if you remember. Renaming of choir to concert choir, that was at the teacher's request. Renaming of singers to eclectic blend, again, the teacher request. Addition of introduction to sports officiating, added as a new course process for 23-24. Students will have the opportunity to earn sport official license to referee games, and they will be allowed to referee games once they get that, make some money.
Wow, that's nice.
Addition of mindful movement course. It was added as part of the 23-24 new course process. And finally, probability and statistics. It's added as part of the new course process for 23-24. Teacher requested course. It meets the Algebra 2 equivalent for graduation requirements. Some students have more of a mind for probability and statistics than they may for Algebra 2, so this would give them that opportunity.
Very good.
If there are no other questions, I would like for these to have a vote.
I do have a question.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
had mentioned, in the AP courses, or the AP course, that you have to have a certain number of students in order for that class to go forward. What is the number of students, and what if you are at that right there at that level, number of students, and then they drop or withdraw from the
Right.
class?
So what happens is, let's say if we're running one AP course and it's, say, AP chemistry, so you have the chemistry teacher and they have 4 other classes of chemistry, but they have this one that maybe if they hit like 10 kids, we say, we can afford to have that class because those other 4 classes aren't overcrowded. And so that's how we would then still run that. Now, if, like you said, if too many kids drop, then we will move them back into a regular chemistry class and have that teacher teach something else, or make all of the classes smaller. But it's worth putting it out there, because even if it is 10 kids and we can afford to do it because we have the space in that teacher's schedule, then it would be worth it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can we think about gaming? Because a lot of schools are doing that, and.
Amy?
No, gaming.
Gaming. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Okay,
No.
yes, I can, look into gaming.
What it looks like
And see
and
where
what-
we are with that.
Yeah, I think that might get a lot of our students' interest, and, yeah.
Okay. Mr. Stone is here, and I don't know, Mr. Stone, has that come up? Student?
Oh, sure.
One of the things that we had, signed students up, we were probably gonna get this year as a club.
Oh, okay.
Start off as a gaming club, and then maybe move from there to get to something different. We did have a lot of, kids who were kind of interested in that gaming piece, but, we had some different things that were going on in terms of getting some of those clubs started.
Okay.
Over the course of the year, so we do have an interest in it, in the gaming, and hopefully it can get off the ground for this year.
Yeah, I'm speaking on behalf of our student that got the scholarship for the
Oh,
county.
yes.
And speaking to her, and she
Yes.
said, we need more things, and gaming, and, what's another one she's, yeah.
They like anime, yeah.
Right.
So those are, to Mr. Stone's
Podcasts.
point, that is podcasting,
They wanted
yes.
more opportunities to do
Yeah,
podcasts.
and I agree. I mean, I think that starting out with clubs is a good way to get started, because then you're paying a supplemental versus paying a full salary.
Right.
And it may be 10 or 15 kids, but if it grows,
Right.
then you could potentially put it into the course catalog.
That makes
So
sense.
we will definitely look at getting some of those clubs started this year, and at the middle school as well. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so are there any other questions on the course guides? I will take a motion to approve the middle school and high school course guides for 23-24.
I move to take a motion to approve the Trotwood-Madison Middle School and High School 2023-24 course guides.
I'll second it.
It's been properly motioned by Ms. Moore and second by Ms. Cherry. Ms. Allen, would you call the roll?
Yes. Ms. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Cherry,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
And Mrs. Jeter Freeman.
Yes, the motion for the 23-24 middle school and high school course guides have been approved. And now we'll go to the approval of the overnight field trip for the band and choir students.
Okay. I received a request for approval for an overnight field trip to Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio, from May 20th to 21st, 2023. The trip will be open to band and choir students in grades 9 through 12 and supervised by Jelani Stokes and 3 additional adult chaperones. It will be funded by the Trotwood-Madison Singers account. Students will travel by Trotwood-Madison bus or van. This trip will give our students the opportunity to perform a varied repertoire of music representing diverse genres and cultures alone and in ensembles. Students will perform before a panel of adjudicators who will provide insight and strategies to aid continued musical growth. And this is for action as well.
Okay. I'll take a motion to approve the band overnight field trip to Cedar Point.
I'll move to accept the motion to approve the overnight field trip for the band and the choir students.
I'll take a second.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Ms. Moore and second by Mr. Anderson to approve the band overnight field trip to Cedar Point. Ms. Allen, would you call the roll?
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Cherry?
Yes.
And Mrs. Judah Freeman?
Yes, the motion passed. And now we'll move to the 23-24 Montgomery County ESC Foundation Service Agreement. And this is the one we were talking about before with the services that they provide.
So we have in front of you on your board docs, the service agreement is there. It shows the services that they offer. They talk about how they comply with the rules and things and what the compensation is. And you'll see that detailed on the next page, but here in 3, it says that the compensation for the ESC would be $2,299,382.75. And then it tells about our responsibilities as well as theirs. This is what the document that I need you to sign, but if you go to the second document, the foundation summary will tell you how we got to that amount, because I know that seems like a mighty big amount. But this is to provide services for our students that we as a district cannot afford to provide on our own. So as you look down, one of the changes that was made this year was for autism. They decided in our case, they were charging, I think it was $7.50 per student. We had enough students that we sort of got a discount at a half of a FTE for our district. It's not just us, I believe it was us in Northmont. And so we have $70,000 towards the autism testing and things that we're required to do for that. As you move through, you can see some of the other services that we have. If there's no money attached and it's, just empty there, we're not using those services.
And the requested 2023-24, that is the number of staff that so it would be 6 staff for emotionally disabled.
Emotionally disabled, let me
Right.
look down.
Now,
If it says
no.
full-time equivalency and it has 6, then yes, that is the number of staff.
Okay. And I see Ms. Mallory motion.
Yes,
So if it says ADM, that means that's the number of students.
right.
Okay.
So we have those number of students attending the ESC. So if you look at the document, and then.
Okay, right.
It's 6 students in their ED unit, 9 students in multiple disability. I think I'm wrong about that.
Yeah, you are.
ADM references number of students.
And then the rate is $350 per student?
Yes.
And if I remember from last year, this doesn't necessarily mean that we use all of these services, is that right? Because we're going into 23, 24, and we might not have a need for that number of psychiatrists or occupational. Is that true? Am I remembering that wrong?
Base it off of what our current needs are
Okay,
and will be for next year.
okay. It does, but if our enrollment for those services, if it drops, do we still have to pay them 2.3? Or,
No.
No.
So if
That's-
one of
If
the
we-
students, so
right.
for instance, if one of the students in that ED class leaves and
Right.
comes back to the district, then no, that would be 5
okay,
instead of
Right.
6.
okay. That's the part, yes, that's the part I was remembering, is that so Ms.
Right.
Allen, do you happen to know what we ended up paying them for last year?
I don't have that.
You don't have to get it now, but, yeah. And I know you're doing a whole lot of calculations right now for a whole lot of people, so.
And
It's,
so there are other areas, like for day, if you go down to gifted supervision, that is $725 per day. And the district has asked for 10 days of PD under, for gifted supervision.
okay,
So that's what that would calculate.
okay.
And then FTE is full-time equivalent, so that means a staff member. So, for instance, when you look under hearing and audiology, FTE, if you would have seen a number, a whole number one, that would mean we have a whole teacher full-time supporting our students. But when you see audiology, 0.275, that's because we don't have enough students with hearing and audiology needs to need a full-time person.
Mm.
Good job, Miss Mallory. I could have done that, but you did it better.
Yes.
Peter Freeman, is that, so that means that's a quarter of a person?
Yeah,
Yes,
quarter of a time in a day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Every day?
good, yeah, cause I was thinking that too, so, yeah. Cause I was looking at 44,000, I'm like,
So for a student on their IEP, so you would know a student receives minutes for certain services.
true,
So those minutes may not be given every day, it may
Mhm.
be
3 times a
2,
week.
3 times a week or something.
Yeah, so, any other questions? Let me see if this one is for action. It was information.
Yes.
Oh, I have a question. This is information, right?
Uh-huh.
Yes. Is this one?
Okay, I have a question. On the other, which is at the last one, virtual mentor, what is that? For, it says FTE 1 for $72,955.
Is that, the mentor who works with. the
Okay,
staff.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. So she is employed through the ESC? Oh, okay, cause I thought she was with us.
Paul,
She is with us, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
She's paid through the year.
Really? Cause she was one of our real
you
employees.
talking about Miss Latham?
Yes.
Paula
Yes,
Latham,
was that
yes.
correct? Okay,
Yes. When she was
okay.
in one of the buildings, she was in Trotwood staff.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Okay, so this was for information.
okay. And the next one is the approval of in lieu of transportation, and this one is also for information.
Yes. Okay, if you open up the document, I'm requesting board approval for payment of the following parents, to the following parents for the 22-23 school year pending verification of attendance. So these are the schools and the students who attend those schools that we pay their parents to to transport them there instead of us transporting them to these schools.
Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
What does that cost, do you know?
We do.
You,
500 and, I think it's $36, 536, 536, 536, and, yeah,
Per
per student.
student?
And it is going up next year. I got a, notice it is going up next year. I think it's 595 if I'm not.
Is it?
Five.
So right now, I think it's 535.
And how many students?
You can,
I already counted, I can't even remember.
I think it's about 125.
Oh, they have to be
Verify that they're attending the school, that's why it says pending verification of attendance.
And also, I assume a pending verification that they're still Trotwood residents.
Yes.
Is it I'm sorry, Madam
You can
Chair.
a- yeah.
Is it a year or a semester? The 500?
Per year. Per year.
And the state then, we do get state funding for these students, right?
We get we get transportation funding.
Right.
So not necessarily to pay in lieu of, we get transportation funding, and so we have to pay this in lieu of transportation.
Yeah, I thought we talked about this a while ago, and for some reason, I thought the state did pay us back the in lieu of transportation. No, they don't?
I will put that down and just.
You'll put that down, Ms. Allen, as a
Yes, as a question.
follow-up
No.
information.
We have to pay that.
It's 100.
They don't reimburse us.
It's like 120, I think.
And the reason that we do in lieu of transportation is
Right.
because, yeah, it would cost us more, then we would have to get like another bus and go further out than what we do.
Yeah, so we
It's
only
supposed to
do-
be the better option for us.
Right,
And that was, just for information.
okay. Any other board comments, questions? If not, we'll move to approval of the personnel agenda, and this one is also for information.
And, if you'll remember, I did ask in my update that we try to take, a vote at each board member as we're moving into this time. So this one's for information, but I would like us to consider, taking a vote at each meeting so that we can get people, hired and get them on board. So,
Comment?
Madam President, I wouldn't mind if we voted on these at each meeting so that we can get people hired, but when we get the draft, they need to be on there.
Right.
It needs to be as accurate as it can be.
Right.
and I'm feeling pretty good about this one, so let's get through it.
Okay.
Okay. A1 is a recommendation for the approval of the following certified resignations for the 22-23 school year. A2 is a recommendation for the approval of the following certified letters training for the 22-23 school year. A3 is a recommendation for the approval of the following certified continuing contracts for the 23-24 school year. A3 continues. A4 is a recommendation for the approval of the following certified limited contracts for the 23-24 school year. A4 is a recommendation for the approval of the following certified limited contracts for the 23-24 school year. A4 continues, a recommendation for the approval of the following certified limited contracts. A4 continues. out of A4s. Still recommendation for the approval of the following certified limited contracts for the 23-24 school year. A4 continues. These are our teachers. I see that you can tell that. A5 is recommendation for the approval of the following certified ending contracts for the 22-23 school year. A5 continues, recommendation for the approval of the following certified ending contracts for the 22-23 school year. A6 is a recommendation for the approval of the following certified letters training for the 22-23 school year. A7 is a recommendation for the approval of the following certified summer school staff for the 22-23 school year. I was asked about the project director for Freedom Schools, and it is that person would serve as the principal of Freedom School in the summer. And they get a stipend of $4,800.
So Freedom Schools come in and they provide their staff though, or, how does that?
So Freedom School brings the servant leaders, they call them. Those are the college students who come in, but we're providing the person who is like over it, who will
Okay.
run it for us. That's that position.
Okay.
So they bring in the, college students who come in and who will read with their students and do activities and those types of things.
But that's not the only summer school service that
No.
we're providing?
No, it's
Okay.
not. This goes up through, I believe, 5th grade, and then we have we also have a middle school and high school summer programs as
okay.
well. Yes.
And we're also looking at providing the one for the students that had challenges.
Yes, I was gonna talk a little bit more about
Okay.
that when we talk about, like, for example, the 3rd grade reading
Okay.
guarantee, but we do have, opportunities for more enrichment and, not just enrichment, but also helping them to improve.
Okay, thank you.
A8 is a recommendation for the approval of the following certified supplementals for the 22-23 school year. Now we're in B, which is our classified personnel agenda. B1 is a recommendation for approval of the following classified resignations for the 22-23 school year. B2 is a recommendation for the approval of the following classified letters training for the 22-23 school year. B3 is a recommendation for the approval of the following classified new hires for the 22-23 school year. B4 is a recommendation for the approval of the following spring supplementals for the 22-23 school year. B5 is a recommendation for the approval of the following non-contract employee for the 23-24 school year. B6 is a recommendation for the approval of the following classified summer workers for the 22-23 school year. Let's see. And then I asked to remove C1 and C2, which I will bring back for vote at our May 18th board meeting. So I would motion that we, or ask that you move to vote on this, or motion to vote on it if you are in agreement to doing that.
Minus the,
C1 and C2.
yes,
Well, you would have to, Madam Chair, you'd have to amend the agenda because it's for
information on there.
I mean, that,
We'll start it next time.
yeah, so can we, if it's okay, Madam Chair, can we start it next time?
Is,
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
okay.
And I do have a question on item A4. I don't know if this is an omission or if it's, I don't know what it is, but it's under A4 and it's the first name for the teacher for Westbrook Village. There is no dollar amount.
A4.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It's the first one.
A4 shows, an ELC
It's, no.
teacher.
Oh, I'm sorry, you know what, it's on page 5.
Okay.
The first one, A4, page 5.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Okay.
Okay, we can supply that.
And if possible, and if this is a pleasure of the board, Madam Chair, when they supply that, can they put that in bold so that we know?
That was.
Right.
Yes. We'll bold it. And that was,
Unless she's free.
I don't think she would agree to that.
I'm just saying, because if we vote on this, she don't get paid.
Thank you for bringing that to my
You're welcome.
attention.
Okay. Any other comments on personnel agenda? We will move to vote on that one at the, I think it's May 18th board meeting. All right, now we will move to discussion follow-up items.
Okay, I wanted to start with that update of the third grade guarantee in the Mighty Rams class. So things have not changed because we're still waiting on our spring numbers as far as our numbers are concerned. But I wanted to give some clarity about what we're doing about our situation. So as of right now, our scores haven't got back, and I'm optimistic that they will improve, but right now we have 52 students who have met the standard and 142 who have not yet met the standards. And as I mentioned to you all that these students would be in a hybrid class if the only thing that they were missing was their third grade reading guarantee. So it's not like they would be retained in the third grade. They would have third grade core reading, and then the rest of their classes would be fourth grade classes. So that's the way they handle that. Now, another thing that I wanted to share with you is that we are doing specific reading intervention based on the data, and we know what our students need. And so now we have 6 teachers who have committed to a summer reading recovery program at Madison Park. They've committed to 3 hours a day for 3 days a week from 9 to 12. They will support students who've been selected based on their Cadence scores right now, the winter data that we're using, and their second grade students to get them prepared as much as possible for the third grade. We also, and we know that there's 23 kids who currently are at the kindergarten level and 40 kids that are at the first grade level, and they're gonna focus on getting those students 90 minutes a day with an intense, opportunity with the teacher, like in groups of 6, and then they will switch them to another teacher who again work with them in groups of 6. So they've really put a lot of thought into trying to close this gap for those students over the summer. And we talked about Freedom School, which is a reading program for our elementary students, and the idea of that is to not allow a summer slide. So that's really for those students who are doing pretty good in reading. They are going to get some reading instruction, but the more intense ones will get this reading intervention that I spoke of. So that's a little bit different. They're using the same curriculum that they used last year, the Summer Rise curriculum. So that should really make a difference for these students. You also asked about our Mighty Rams class. That Mighty Rams class is moving to Madison Park. Most of those students will be going into the second grade, and that was the goal, was to get those kids ready for second grade. Those students who are not quite ready will have that opportunity to be in a class that is again a hybrid, where they will continue to get some first grade work as they move towards moving into the second grade. And once they hit that mark, they will be put into their second grade classes. So, we also are gonna have another Mighty Rams, well, they'll probably find another name for it, but we will have a kindergarten class that will also come in. So we're gonna have basically 3 classes. The one that's moving up that we already have, that'll be, like first, second, really they'll be like second graders with some first grade support. And then it'll be another first grade group, and it will be a kindergarten class starting as well. And this is supported through Preschool Promise, who has been able to secure funding through the Iddings Group. And so they help us pay for the teacher and the para in those classrooms.
Is that for the summer or for?
This is going forward.
That's
in next
moving
year.
forward.
Yeah, this is next year.
So do we have enough teachers? We have 6 teachers that's committed for the summer to help the rise. Is that enough to accommodate all of the students that are not on track, or?
It is not. It is to hit those students with actually the 40 kids who are at first grade level and really ready to move to the second, and we're hoping to get them there over the summer. That's 40 students. And then the 23 who we know are further behind will also be added into that group. So it's 63 students that we're working to try to move them forward. It's not all of our students who are behind, but again, some of those students will participate in Freedom School and will get other opportunities as well.
Okay, so I just wanted to, so 63 will get the intensive
In the summer.
in the summer, and the others will also get
They will
summer
sign up for
Freedom
Freedom
School?
School, which is all literacy-based and reading as well, but not as intense.
Okay,
Mhm.
so how do we get the parents? Ms. Moore know that there was a time I used to say, can we make it mandatory for the parents to have their kids here this summer? It's like, okay, parents, your kids have slipped.
Right.
We can never do that mandatory thing, but,
But they're contacting these parents and they're letting them know their students', situation and highly encouraging them, to participate. So,
Madam Chair.
yes.
Through
Comment.
you to the superintendent, that we implement tracking tools, as we stated before, of making sure that those notifications are happening.
yes, those notifications are happening, yes. They're notifying, and these are their test scores.
Right.
That we're talking about. So we get the test scores, the parents, are given that information, and then again, those are the parents that are encouraged to have their students participate. We want them to participate. That's how we, improve our reading and improve, our school district. So
If
Yeah.
we can split up those numbers and phone and share those with the board, and we'll each take parent and we'll call. I can't say we will call.
I have a better idea.
Okay.
President.
We're just throwing out ideas here, that's all.
And we're gonna probably get, well, we've got some other subject matters, but
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on incentivizing kids to show up?
For the summer?
Yes.
Board?
Not a bad idea.
Well, we
And we could
incentivize
charge
the
the
staff
super- we
to
could-
take that training.
We could charge the superintendent and her staff to come up with what that might look like, because their operations day to day would probably have a better handle.
for sure, I will tell you this, the Mighty Rams class, attendance was actually the key thing that they were going for, and they incentivized attendance. I believe parents got, if the kid was there for a month or something, $50 gift card, they incentivized attendance, and the attendance grew significantly.
Okay.
Those
And
students
also
had great
implementing
attendance.
end
Let's
of the
give 'em all a
summer.
bike.
Yes, a bike or end of the summer school trip
Texas, Ohio.
somewhere. But I do have
I
another
will
question.
look into that.
We can get them from
Yeah.
Walmart. Walmart would donate the bags because
Okay.
that's one of our partners. You know, Cheryl, she's been such a champion and an advocate for Trotwood, and all we have to do is ask.
Yeah, so at the
I come
end,
here for
but I like the idea that the Mighty Rams put attendance in there. So we need them to show up
That's right.
in
We're
order
not
to
gonna be able to
get
make a difference
whatever
with
it
them if
is.
they're not here for what
Right.
we're providing.
Yeah,
We would
I
really have
like
to push
that.
that.
So
Yeah.
we will follow through and look into that.
Okay.
Yeah, and, I do wanna talk to you about, the partnership we have with Walmart.
Okay.
They give away, they give away money, and they give away stuff.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
Cheryl,
Sure, I heard you say that.
I'll give you
Cheryl
her
was her
number
name.
too. I'll give you her
Okay.
number. Okay, I got her on speed dial.
Okay.
Do we believe that the hybrid, going into the new year, hybrid class is effective? Do we see, are the children falling further behind in that
Well,
aspect?
no, what we've seen, we did get the opportunity, and I think I was gonna talk about it or allow maybe Ms. Julia Freeman to mention it, but we got to see our students who are in that Mighty Rams class, and they were one of the types of classes that's like a hybrid to really, focus the needs on what those students had. And, Ms. Julia Freeman, I don't know if you remember, but we could sign up for a book when we went out, and the
Right.
man who was there had watched the students start from the beginning of even just putting on this performance to how they were at the end, and it was a major difference. And they will tell you in that classroom, they had support in there. They had volunteers who came in and read to them. They did have a para in there, and they had an excellent teacher, that was Miss Wilson Gunn. And so, it made a difference. It definitely made a difference. And that's the only way we could get that support from the Iddings Foundation, is you have to show them proof that it's making a difference, because they're, donating money, and they wanna make sure that it's being used, wisely and getting what the benefit that they want us to have. They want us to succeed as well. So, yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay,
Yes.
B, are we ready?
Yes.
For B? Update on graduation rates. We currently have 154 seniors. Of those, 142 seniors are on track to graduate May 22nd, 2023.
You said 142.
We have 154 total, but 142 are on track to graduate.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Oh, yes.
Well, I would like to give kudos to Dr. Cosby and staff, because my very first meeting, there were 30 seniors that weren't eligible to graduate, and you really dropped that number, and I do appreciate that for, yeah.
Okay, thank you. And, and again, it's an ongoing process. We're hoping to maybe even pull in more, but they have more things to do to get on track. But we haven't given up on them yet. This is where we are today. Also, it says that you wanted, the next thing is the graduation ceremony, and you all as board members will be receiving your formal invitation soon. You will get those. But graduation is May 22nd at 7 p.m. at the Wright State Nutter Center. And I'm just gonna make this announcement in case any staff members and students who are participating, they should arrive to the Nutter Center by 5:30 p.m.
I have a question. I know, last year, board was really, gung-ho on using alum as a speaker. Were
right.
we able to make that happen?
I can find out. I don't know who the speaker is right now, but I can
Yeah.
ask.
I mean, we have so many successful alumni, we don't need to hire someone from the outside to come in and speak. And plus, it's really, important that our students can identify with one of their own, somebody
Mhm.
who's walked down those hallways and who's now doing very, very productive things. And that's important, because that's part of the legacy of Trotwood.
Right,
That's part of the legacy, and that's important. That's very important.
All right, I will definitely, check and see who we have speaking this year at graduation. Okay, the next, piece, the substitute cost was one of those things that we said we would talk about, when we get to the retreat, so I don't have that for you right now. Staff attendance, I do have staff attendance for the year. I'll pass this out. There were a couple of, addition errors, which I actually think were probably just little markups, but I caught them, and so I made those corrections. Attendance, for this year is significantly improved from coming out of COVID. Yes. As you can see, and we have them split up by certified staff and classified, and then the totals. And you also asked, I believe, for student count number 6, also have that on this page. And you can see our building enrollment and our grade level enrollment. So we have a total enrollment of 2,560. And our overall staff attendance was at 94.46 this year. So that's really exciting. Good.
Do we happen to know how many of those are open enrollment?
We had 170 open enrolled students this year, and the reason I know this is because we were checking on how many turned in their forms, because they also have to re-enroll every year, and we're making a push to get them to get those signed up and back in, because we've only had 50 sign up. So 170 of the students were open enrolled this year.
Okay.
And so we, actually the deadline, we asked them to get that to us before May 1st. We got about maybe 60, and then we've opened it up now to anyone who wants to open enroll at this time. So,
Okay.
but they can still do it. That's one reason why I wanted to say it tonight, so in case parents are listening, they will know.
Board comment?
No, this is good along the lines of the information that, for the discussion item. And given that, President Jeter Freeman, our retreat is on the 20th, right? Is
Yes.
that correct, on Saturday? Our next meeting is on the 18th. I would like to have a substitute cost before the retreat, because if I want to ask questions based on that, I want to look at where we are. I do keep a lot of notes of where we were last year based on this year, and when we're in the retreat, I'd like to speak to that based on the variance. So, if possible, and this is, I know I asked 2 weeks ago, but I'd like to have the substitute cost for the year prior to the retreat. At the next board meeting on the 18th.
Before the.
On the next board, on the next board meeting.
Please. Would that be possible that we could do that?
Well, I'll defer to, is it the treasurer that has to pull that? Is that,
I usually pull that.
okay.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And not in defense or anything, but I know that they are working weekends and trying to get the staff paid for the years of pay and stuff, so.
And a lot of these are line items, so
Right.
I understand that, but, if it's line
Is it
items.
yeah. Okay. So we'll have the substitute cost, at the next board meeting on the 18th.
Thank you.
And then, staff attendance for the year.
That was what I just.
That's what we just
Yeah,
had.
just went through.
Okay, and then the ESSER funds balance and plan.
Is there gonna be a retreat?
Yeah, I know we said that, but again, the same difference, because we had ESSER 1, ESSER 2, and ESSER 3, if you recall.
Mm-hmm.
And question is just a point blank question, what is the balance? That's not hard to find, I mean, it's whatever the balance is.
Is that what you're asking, only
Yes.
about the balance? Because
Yes.
what we were planning to do, Ms. Moore, was to present a more robust, discussion and presentation at the retreat.
And that's
So, but
fine.
if you just want the balance, we can provide that, but I thought it would be better for us to, and I'm not sure if Jill Adams can attend that, but for us to work with her and have her to come up with a more robust presentation at the retreat.
I was asking for a balance.
You just,
Okay.
see, and I
Okay.
didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's just a number, it's like, where are we
Okay.
at? Okay, that's it. And
But
it's
we do need to discuss the plan
Prior
at
to-
the,
yeah,
well,
at the
my
retreat.
expectation was that we would have that full discussion of the ESSER plan at the retreat.
And not have already formulated a plan
Right.
prior to.
Well, I'm sure we
information.
already had a
Yeah,
plan.
yeah.
Did we have a plan?
Oh, definitely, definitely. We had to have a plan, Ms. Moore.
Yeah, but I know the last plan I heard, Ms. Freeman, and correct me if I'm wrong, was we were doing something with the back area.
Right, and
That was
remember
the-
the board approved going forward with the study on what that would, we paid for that. I saw that
We
in the
paid for the
finance.
study.
Right.
So, that's the last
So
I
the,
heard.
right, so the plan, my expectation is that it'll come back and we'll say, okay, the plan would cost this much or, and what that is. So, yeah, for definite, because we do need to know that because we're coming up on, 2024 next year,
And
so.
what we also said, and we said this last year at our April meeting, that we were gonna charge, Mr. Warner, I think that's what the notes say, that's what the minutes say, with surveying students on what it is they want.
Right.
And I don't know if we've ever done that. If there was any follow?
Yeah, we have, when we talk to you about our balance, you're gonna find out that basically our balance is just enough to get us through next year, paying
Yeah.
for the things that we've already started. So we were not able to fund, doing any work in the back because we did not have the money in ESSER to do that. Now, we do have some great plans for it, some good ideas, and I don't know if it's worth a conversation about whether or not we could use general fund money or possibly find some grant money or something to do some of that work. But, that work had to stop because we realized that getting through next year, it will use up our ESSER dollars.
And I think, so, one of those presentations of the funding, I know showed what we had spent in professional development, what we had spent in, supplies, materials, textbooks, and those things. My first thought is a halt on, spending for professional development until we survey the students to see, because in sitting at the table, you know, Dr. Cosby with, Ms. Gilbert and her, her parents and the student, it was some of the things she said we, I don't think have taken into consideration, the podcast, the gaming. So with all that money, we do wanna make sure that we have students, voice and needs that show up, you know, in a podcast, in a gaming or something. So, and I know that we have surveys out there. I saw some of them floating through on social media, so to inform the board as to what the results of those surveys were and.
I know President Jeter Freeman that, you know, ESSER dollars was to give our kids opportunities outside of what we normally would have, and whatever that looks like, especially with their input. I think that's something we could all be proud of, you
Yeah.
know, other than the routine things that we do in the district.
Yeah.
And I think that the start of this conversation for me, as a new board member, came in regards to Gibson 8th grade class to DC and understanding what the ESSER funds were used for field trips. What's categorized under there? Have we slated out field trips for next year to determine what those funding is for, and also what we use that money for this school year that we're currently in.
And we
So-
have that, and we've seen that. We've gotten up, you know, because I go back through and look. So it's from the point of what we last received, it's like, where are we now? And we'll have that rich, full conversation at the retreat.
Yeah, and we'll have the dollar amount if you have it at the next meeting. Thank you.
And there's a difference, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, excuse me.
Yes,
There's a different balance, correct, from 2023, 2024, right? Will there
Oh, yeah.
be a different balance?
Oh, yeah,
And then
Yeah.
definitely what we're gonna use for the rest of this year. That's what I wanna know. Because the 8th grade class got a lot of stuff happening at the end of the year. And I don't know if we've already allocated some of that funding definitely for other schools in the district, but I would really love to have that.
Well-
We'll get you that information, and yes, the other schools are taking field trips and
They
doing
are.
some really cool things, yes.
I know
Remember, the
Westbrook
only things
Village.
that come to the board are things that are
They're
overnight
overnight,
trips,
yep.
yeah, or out of
Understand,
state.
yep.
So,
yeah. And I do know that Westbrook has made sure that their class, they had dances, they went to,
we went up to
the
COSI.
COSI, and so I know that they've done things, they weren't overnight.
Oh, I'm
but-
not doubting
yeah.
that it
Yeah.
didn't happen, but when we
Yeah.
have discussions about when certain areas request money and why we're not giving that, and I have other questions that I have, but thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So we look forward to having those discussions at the retreat.
Okay. Did my computer die on me? It's
But we
like I
will have the balance at the next board meeting.
I'm sorry. did you
We'll have the
repeat that to
ESSER
me?
balance at the next board meeting,
Yeah,
correct?
that's what I have.
Okay.
The balance at the next board meeting will present at the board retreat a more detailed presentation.
Okay.
That's what I wrote.
That sounds good.
Okay. And our parent has not shown up, so we will move to treasurer comments.
Yes. I do have a couple comments. In front of you is the treasurer's update for today, May 4th, 2023. I did post that also on the executive tab on board docs. As Mrs. Jeter Freeman has expressed, this week has been, the last 2 weeks have been very, very busy for both the treasurer's office staff and also HR. We have been at the table Saturday, Sunday, all the week, and again Saturday and Sunday, making sure that the retro pay calculations were correct. There were, some updates that we needed to make, but we actually verified over 500 employees, every line by line. So I just want to have kudos to both, like I said, the treasurer staff and the HR staff for making that happen. We did have a presentation yesterday on the payroll creep, and there will be an FAQ document that will be prepared to answer some of the questions that were raised yesterday. Again, I talked about the building budgets. And there's always a bright light at the end of anything, and I had the greatest time that I had. I went to Pippin Market. Mr., I have to say his name right, Anativi Cheney Alu, who's the owner of Pippin Market on Olive Road. He called one day and said he wanted to donate $1,500 for 2 scholarships.
Wow.
So I said, okay, I'll come up there. When I got up there, he says, oh, I changed my mind. I'm gonna donate $2,000.
Wow.
So we're really, really excited about that. We have identified 2 students to receive the $750, $1,500 total, and then the $500 will be set aside for possible another scholarship for next year. I also had another experience where Claude Keeling and Regina Kleinhans from the Historical Society, they also called and said they wanted to, again, donate $500 for a scholarship. And so we did have our scholarship meeting a couple weeks ago, and every single applicant, we were able to give a scholarship to. So I just,
Wow.
it's
That
just
is so
amazing. So
awesome.
that really keeps me going when individuals in the community, the Pippin Market guy said he wanted to be part of the Trotwood community. And
Aw.
so I'm just shouting out to everybody, go to Pippin Market, buy
So-
gas, you know, that's all.
So what we need though, and I don't know what we came up with, but we need those
Yes,
plaques.
Yes, we
And if-
already have.
Yes.
Okay, if you would bring those to the next meeting so that we can see them. And the other thing, board, I think we should consider is like a reception for our donors. And maybe not here. I had the opportunity to attend a reception for the Teacher of the Year, and it was with the Hope Center, and it was with Learn to Earn, and it was down in the library. It was very nice. I don't know who catered it, but somewhere to show them, to have it catered, and yeah, or something. And we talked about this, but to really, really show them that, yeah, we appreciate them, and they all, yeah, have a plaque.
Ms. Jerry has a great idea.
Yes, Miss Cherry.
I said maybe we can look into the Trotwood Library or Goodwill Easter Seals or
Oh, that beautiful place.
That would be
Yes,
great.
yes,
So that's all I have this evening.
okay.
All right, I have some things, and some of us have been at the same thing, so please feel free to elaborate. I'm just gonna be more basic. But the Mighty Rams class did have their presentation at the high school. It was fantastic.
It really was.
The students in the class were assisted by Sean Freeman, who read the book, The Me I Choose to Be. He did a really good job at that. And those kids, they just shined.
They
and
did.
They did. They were dressed so pretty, and they were, had pictures, and they knew all the words to this book and all the other words and things that they had to do. So that was a really great night.
I'll interject on that. So at that reception for the Teacher of the Year, which was a smaller group with just those people, Sean Freeman had the book, The Me I Choose to Be, and it was laying on the table. So this lady comes over and she goes, "That's our Mighty Rams book. Who has that?" And he mentioned he had gotten the book because he was reading it the next night at the program. So we are out and we're partnering with a lot of people, and I share another partnership, but I'll let you finish.
Okay, that sounds good to me. Middle school field trip to DC did take off. They left yesterday. They will return on Friday. We did end up receiving donations, as I've mentioned before, from CIC, Chad Downing. Trotwood-Madison Education Foundation also donated $1,000. And then Chad Downing has a business that is going to match that $3,000. So we will have received $6,000, and we did also receive a donation from the Trotwood Athletic Department, and that was what finished us off for the $8,000 that we needed to be able to take this trip. National Honor Society induction was held on Wednesday night, and again, some of the board members were there, but we did have a nice turnout. We had, I think it was 15 students inducted, and Mr. Stone pointed out that it would be great to have more males involved, and I agree with him on that.
Yeah.
Our Trotwood-Madison Education Foundation Teacher and Staff of the Year Gala is tomorrow night.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's $25. I think they sent out a link if you would like to. It is virtual this year, but it will be in person next year. But last year was virtual, and it was still a nice event. So the people who will be talking and all will be in the room, and the other things will be able to be seen virtually. Heroes of the Household, if you'll remember, we're holding an in-person meeting on May 17th. We decided on 2 times to try to accommodate as many parents as possible. So we'll have a 10 a.m. and a 6 p.m., and we will have lunch for the early one and dinner for the second. We did send out a survey to families to get their input from them and their kids about what they would like to see us pursue to help their students find success. What types of initiatives or things would be helpful for that. I would like to also add, because we're talking about scholarships, and I don't know that I've mentioned it before, but I did do $2,000 scholarships, one for my parents who passed, but who put 5 kids through school, and we're all just so proud of them. So that was Thomas and Jean Cardwell, and the second 1,000 was for my husband's parents. His mother also passed in this past year, and she was an educator, and they sent their 2 boys through school, and they really value education. So that would be for Mr. and Mrs. James Cosby, in honor of them. And that's all I have.
Can you send us the information on the Heroes of the Household?
Sure, it's a flyer that's out. I can send you that flyer and more information.
Okay, and what date did you say?
It's May 17th, that's a Wednesday. The first one is at 10 a.m. and the second one will be at 6 p.m. And I didn't mention this, but we do have 100 t-shirts, so the first 100 parents that we see will get a t-shirt that says Heroes of the Household.
Okay. And
We felt like that was good advertisement.
to double back on the Trotwood Educational Foundation, are you our representative for?
Absolutely, the gala?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We didn't get that information.
it was emailed, but I'll look into it. I'll make sure he
Okay.
gets it.
Yeah,
And I think it was a dry email, if I could be upfront with you. I don't think we really promoted it very well at all.
yeah, 'cause I can't attend tomorrow, even though it's virtual, but I normally do. It's normally really nice, and it's at,
That'll be next
Meadowbrook.
year. Meadowbrook, I guess they changed ownership,
Oh,
if I'm not mistaken, and so they lost the date, so that is why we're doing virtual again this year. They attempted to do in person, but they will do in person next year.
so since we have new board, so you know that the Trotwood Educational Foundation, they recognize it's really for all of our staff. They recognize the teachers and everyone. It's really, really nice, so I'm not sure how it'll go off virtually.
But they did it last year, it was very nice.
Yeah, that's true, I did
Yeah,
come
they
here.
came here.
It was just the two of us
Mhm.
sitting here. Yeah, okay. So, board comments. Mr. Anderson.
Alrighty. Good evening, everyone. 3 days ago was School Bus Drivers Appreciation Day. So I wanted to shout out to all of our school bus drivers who make it happen and who transport our children to school safely and on time. Definitely through the weird weather that we have here. And also, next week, we're appreciating our wonderful teachers, Teachers Appreciation Week. Dr. Cosby, if you don't mind, I will be visiting all schools one day next week, and just personally thanking all the teachers for their work with our students. So I'll visit one school each day next week to visit our teachers, and also provide a special gift for myself and the company I work for. I would encourage our board members, let's get together and do something for our teachers. This was the first school year back after a pandemic. This has been a rough school year. One of my sister is a vice principal at a school, and when you talk about burnout and a lot of teachers not wanting to come back and a lot of teachers don't feel appreciated, I think this is a nice way for us to show that we appreciate the teachers of Trotwood-Madison City Schools. 2 weeks ago, I had the privilege of going to Columbus. Here, I go, say it for me, the OS.
Ohio Association of Black School Educators.
There we go. Thank you so much for that. With our board member Denise Moore and our awesome superintendent Dr. Cosby, we enjoyed an awesome time. We had an awesome time at the Hilton, correct, in Columbus. Yeah, and one of our very own, Denise Moore, board member, facilitated a segment of the conference, and it was phenomenal with our past superintendent, and Dr. Cosby was there, got a lot of accolades and shout outs during that brief time. But I believe that as a new board member coming on board, I'm seeing a lot of things take place here at Trotwood-Madison City Schools, and talking to other board members in other districts. And even though we have our problems inside, I think that we're still doing the best for the children that we serve. And thank you so much for this time.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. And now, Mr. Davis.
May 18th of 2023 in our high school auditorium, our music department of Trotwood-Madison and Mr. Stokes would like to invite all stakeholders, parents, and staff or educators to our concert. Again, this will be at 7 p.m. So promptly arrive, and it's going to be a good event that I think we should all be part of. And you know, those kids, they get out there and they hustle up money and everything, and they really just want somebody to come out and support them. And that's something that I think we should all look into. But I also would like to thank everybody in attendance and not in attendance. Please know that you guys are a very important part and very essential personnel at all times. Whether it rain or snow or storm, we love you. We care about you. We'd like to harass you as much as we can, and that gets old, but it's for our kids. Also, one of the bigger things I would like to do is just ask for patience. It is a virtue. Superintendent and Madam Treasurer, there is one thing that I really want to get out the way for this time gets kind of close to ending on me. As a parent, as a stakeholder, as a voter in this community, father, that's the biggest one that keeps coming up. I would like to apologize to you guys. Before I got on the board, I seen a lot of things that I didn't know how they were ran. Now that I'm on the board, I'd like to also apologize to you guys as a board member. You deserve utmost respect, and I feel like at times you haven't gotten that. I know that we ask a lot of you, and sometimes we rush you, and even at times we ask tall orders, as I would call them. And you do an exemplary job, both of you, of meeting the demands of the people. All I've asked for this job is that we do what the people want us to do, not what we want to do, not what we decide to do, but what the people want. You'll see in a lot of movies when people like me talk, they say what the people want. So this is what I'm saying to you. And Mr. Assistant Superintendent in Operations, we love you, and thanks for holding it down all this time, all the time you've put into this, away from your children, away from your family. We appreciate you. All those times you've had to think, are we gonna close them schools? Are we gonna operate this way or that way? Where should we put millages at? We talking about a brother who deals with millions of dollars a day, and he sit back there like he the quietest, humblest person. A guy that's dealing with millions of dollars and don't even say nothing. So this is what I'm saying to you guys. We will get this together. And then we have a great addition to our team. It's almost like one of those 97 years of the Bulls where you wonder if we're going to win again, and then you see Rodman, and you see all these people come that you didn't think would ever play with Jordan, because they was beating them up back in the 80s. Now they playing with him. So, and then you win some more, 95, 96, you come back, might change the number from 23 to 45, but you're still winning. This is all I want you guys to say, and I'll digress after this. I appreciate you. Madam President, we couldn't do it without your leadership. I mean that. I may give you a hard time at times, but where would I be without your leadership is my question. Those millennials get out there sometimes. Madam Cherry, thank you for always them late nights and early mornings where we talking and I'm trying to make sure I'm doing something right or I'm running some things by you, I should say, like these type of things. But yes, but getting back to the apology, Madam Superintendent, Madam Treasurer, please forgive any part that I played in any disrespect if you've ever taken it that way. Sometimes it's not about perception or what reality is, but if you take something wrong. And that's so important that I iron that out with you guys, being a representative of this board. And I digress at that point. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Mr. Davis. And now Ms. Moore.
First of all, I want to say the Ohio Association of Black School Educator Conference a couple Saturdays ago was awesome. Got a chance to just connect with superintendents from all over the state, teachers, staff. It was board members. It was just amazing. It wasn't just public ed. It was some community schools as well. And I was so honored to be the chair for the board governance strand to put together a curriculum. And Madam Chair, I want to just kind of put this out there. One of the things that Mr. Anderson was talking about, we had a whole in session about parliamentary procedures. So you've done good tonight, okay?
No.
We had a whole session on that, and there is some order in what we do on the dais. And I think you gleamed into that and got all your questions answered along the lines of how we facilitate meetings. So it was just super, and it would be good if the whole board could have something like that. I know they have those at some of the conferences, but it was a deep, 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 deep dive, and it was really, really impressive. In addition to that, I actually ran into Ms. Latham, but I don't want to share this. If you were going to talk about this, Madam Chair, the Franklin B. Walter, were you going to talk about that?
Well, we talked about it at the last meeting.
Okay.
Actually.
Well, then
and
I'll
she was there.
I'll reiterate it.
No, you can
because-
reiterate
thank
it,
you.
but
I didn't
we
want to
did.
say it if you were going to
Yeah.
mention it. I was just so impressed. I mean, the student, was it Nyla
Nyla
Gilbert?
Gilbert and her parents.
Was nominated and received the award for the All Scholastic category. And this was from our virtual school, is that correct?
Yes.
And then she was accepted into Ohio University.
Yes.
You know, and is on the National Honor Society. I just, you know, again, I don't know, I didn't hear it last time. We
Yeah.
were talking, we had so much good last time. It was just, but I just think that's remarkable. The nominees were asked to submit an essay about their most influential teacher. Nyla chose Miss Latham, who's amazing and awesome, and as the most influential teacher, and she was one of the winning recipients to receive a scholarship toward her college. So I just thought it was just amazing. Two of our own, our students are doing some amazing things. We just have to tell our story. A lot of times people hear about what's going wrong, but there's a lot going right. When you think about influential teacher, national, student, national, the virtual RAM Academy, I mean, that's huge. So I just want to say kudos, and I wanted to ask the board if it was maybe an opportunity before the end of the year, maybe at our next meeting, to have them both on the agenda so that we could celebrate their accomplishments.
Most certainly.
Thank you.
Yeah. And she was, I happened to see Nyla and her mom, anyway, last night. She was at the National Honor Society induction, so.
I think the more we can show, the better off we will be. Yeah. And there's a lot to show. It's not just a little. These are
Right.
just pockets of things, but we
we have a lot of pockets of good things going on. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Cherry?
Well, I just want to say congratulations to the students that were inducted into the National Honor Society. I did attend, and I just want the students to know that their hard work is not gone unnoticed, and that the fact that they've challenged themselves to go above and beyond. I just want to say congratulations not only to the students but to the parents as well. I want to say congratulations to our marching band. They had a great Battle of the Bands on April 29th. Being exposed to these type of events keep our students positively engaged and motivated to keep going. So as a board member, I was proud. There were schools from Michigan, 4 or 5 schools from Michigan, other schools from Ohio, Wilberforce. They did an amazing job, and I just wanted to say congratulations to them. I don't know if you were going to discuss our Teacher of the Year. I'll let you do that one.
I don't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So congratulations to our very own Ms. Desiree, the intervention specialist at the ELC, and thank you for your service. You are appreciated. Also to the ELC for committing to play nice with friends, helping classmates in need, and using kind words with others. And thank you for choosing kindness. So adults should adopt that as well, because sometimes we fall by the wayside with that. So you never know who's watching. Congratulations to our May Student Athletes of the Month, Chloe McCarty, who holds a 4.1 GPA. That's awesome. And Isaiah Evans, who holds a 3.9. You guys are awesome leaders, and please keep up the good work. And I want to applaud their parents as well. Also, to the graduating class of 2023, super proud of you guys for just staying on task and just really being focused. And my hat goes out to you. And those who are still a little bit on the fence, we just want to give you an extra push and hope that you will also make the number. I wanted to say congratulations to Christine Jackson, a sophomore educator at Central State University, who was presented with a $5,000 scholarship. She is a Trotwood alumni, so congratulations to you. To the class, the 8th grade class that left for the Washington trip, I would hope that you guys are having a wonderful time and that you conduct yourselves in a manner that our district will be proud of you guys. I also wanted to congratulate our very own Trotwood graduate, Mr. Dallas Daniels, and his family, who was drafted by the Denver Broncos. He is an alumni, and I watched his interview. He shouted out Trotwood, his experience as a Ram, and I just want to wish him nothing but the best and his family.
Wow, that's wonderful.
And I'll share on that, on Mr. Dallas. We talk about coaches being in students' lives, and his coach had followed him while he was in playing with Prime, and so that was a very, very nice event. But it has been busy. Trotwood has been busy. We needed someone going around to follow them all. Their preschool registration on Saturday was so nice. It was really, really nice. And we had their Trotwood Fire Rescue. We had Goodwill Easter Seals. We had Help Me Grow. We had Pour Seed for Children. We had our teachers that are there that work conscious discipline. And we had preschool promise. And we had our SROs, Officer Bowerman and Derek. We had Home Depot there giving out the little bitty plaques for the students, and they got bird cages and they got other things to make. So it was a really, really nice event. Dr. Poole and Ms. Anderson did an awesome job, and they gave out so many free prizes. So my grandson won a crock pot, and a lot of people won other things, but it was really nice. So after doing that, I did get to go by the Battle of the Bands for a little while. It was kind of cold. I wasn't dressed right, so I didn't get to see Mr. Bean to congratulate him on what a good job he did. And then we had the Me I Choose to Be by the Mighty Rams. Oh, board, you missed an awesome presentation. They moved their event. They thought so much of their little selves. They went to the high school auditorium to perform on the big stage, and they did an amazing job. They were dressed like astronauts and doctors and authors, and they had attitude. So what was so nice was that the teacher that did it, I think, I don't know her last name, Erica, with Preschool Promise and Learn to Earn, I'm not sure. But they had a profile of the student with each one, big pictures. It was really, really nice, really nice. So that was nice. And then Ms. Cherry and Dr. Cosby and I attended the National Honor Society induction last week. So it's been really, really good. Thanks for all our staff that are doing an amazing job. And I had plans to bake, but I was babysitting. So things got pushed to the back burners, but I really, really do appreciate all the hard work that's going into finishing up this year strong. And with that, I'll take a motion to move into executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, or the investigation of charges or complaints against the public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual per Board of Ed Policy 0166 and ORC 12122. G1, action may be taken.
I'll move to go into executive session for item 10A as stated.
I'll second.
It's been properly motioned by Ms. Moore and second by Ms. Cherry. Ms. Allen, would you call the roll?
Yes. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Cherry?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
And Mrs. Jeter Freeman?
Yes. We will now adjourn into executive session at 8:17.